team, third Wednesday of every month training. Tonight, we are going to go over some fundraising information as this is prime fundraising season. So, we want to kind of share some of the tools and resources and hopefully answer a few questions and get y'all excited to get going on it. I've had an ad going and I've been getting about 3 leads a week. So, I'm kind of building up my list of those that I'm contacting, and they vary from basketball teams to kind of a group of adults, young adults that have disabilities. So, fundraising can be done with any group that you can even imagine, anybody that has a need for raising funds. So you can see here on the screen, then, this is our what we call the fundraising flyer. So this is a promotional piece that you can use. You can certainly have it printed off if you want to, but it works wonderfully for just attaching to emails and sending it out to prospects, or once somebody has decided to do a fundraiser with you, then I usually send an email of all the digital things so that they can share on their digital networks, whether it's social media or newsletters, or they're sending it out to, the participants. So there's the autumn weather. This flyer tends to stay the same each season, but the candle itself will change. So we've just flipped over to the fall season here so you can see that. All right, so on our miabellatraining.com, which is our team website, there is lots of information to walk you through exactly how to do a fundraiser. And I really think that all of the information is listed out there, but of course, if you have questions, you can always ask your upline to work with you on that. And it's really, once you do it, it all makes sense. The first time it might be a little nerve-wracking. You aren't sure, even though you're reading the information and it's like, okay, I get it, but I don't get it only because I haven't done it. So once you get one fundraiser, 2 fundraisers under your belt, then it's very simple. So on our website, this is the home page here. And here's that fundraising tab. Can you see that? Looks like I'm showing there. Okay, so go to the fundraising tab. Well, you're just going to go slow here while we're recording. It's slowing things down. Well, come on, bring it up. That's not going to be good if it doesn't bring it up here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here you can see the flyer there that was from a previous season that had the spring. Now, on the website itself here, you're going to find the general information, but you're going to want to go to the Bella Builders, so the company Facebook group, to pull off all of the current information. So we're not going to update the website every time they change a flyer with a specific candle. But as I said, you can see it's the same flyer. It's just got a spring candle on there. And since I'm talking about that, let's go ahead and go over there real quick. So here's the Bella Builders group. Under the files, you should see various documents here. And that's where I pulled that, the fall flyer here, I pulled from the list here. So just kind of read through the, the master order form, the individual pink sheet, the I wanted to show you two here. Since I've got these open, I'm kind of going out of order, but since I've got things open here, I just want to show you. This also here is the master order form that you would be sending into the company. And now this will, again, change. It'll give you the dates of when the fundraisers and the materials will be available. So our fall and winter 2025 will run through January 31st of 26. Okay, so each season, then the company will update this form with the 15 cents that we use. Now, these are in the 16-ounce candles. Fundraisers are used with just these 15 cents. They're our top sellers in the 16-ounce candles. And one of the reasons why our fundraising program is so successful is because it's so simple, especially when you're dealing with kids. It's just I know that when my daughter was in elementary school, she'd come home with this catalog that was like 25 pages, and there was product after product and confusion and so much, and especially those that are kind of going door to door and looking for, potential supporters, and you're standing there waiting for them to make a decision. It's kind of tough. And that's what I really love about ours is you're only going to get a 16-ounce choice. You aren't involving all the other products that we have, and it's just going to be in these 15 cents. So at the beginning of each season, I like to copy these, save these forms then to my website, or my desktop, and update it to my information. Now, this needs to be emailed into corporate when you're ready to place the final order. Each group is going to maintain the order forms that we provide to the coordinator for the number of participants that are engaging in the fundraising efforts, whether that's 10 kids or 100 kids. We have our professional fundraising. It's kind of we call it kind of the brochure on the one side here. And I suppose, can you see that or not? Can you see me holding up the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So there's the front side. Hang on until my voice comes back there. Okay. And then the back side is the actual order form then. Okay, so these are professionally printed and available in our back office. So we are providing this to the coordinator for the number of participants. And then I usually give one or two extra in case somebody else decides to join in. One gets lost or destroyed. It's okay to throw in a couple extra because they're so economical. And that's what they're doing is each participant then is taking this. And then usually, like when I mail them, I'll just fold it. So it's a nice one-sided, no 25-page catalog. They're putting in the name of the supporter, a phone number. They're paying at the time that they are placing the order with the seller. They're collecting the money at that time. Okay, so this is all that the participant really needs is this one order form. Okay, now they're going to turn all of those four order forms into the coordinator of the fundraising group, and they then will tally all of the cents that they want us to order. And while you want to be helpful, it's a good practice though to have them be doing the master order form. So if there's any errors, any mistakes, anything that happens down the road, you can say, well, this is what you gave me. Okay, so they're going to go through each one of these forms and tally up how many autumn weathers were sold. And then they're going to put that on the master order form there on the screen. How many of the cashmere glow. Okay, they're going to send you that one order form so that they can keep each of these, so that each participant's going to have a tracking of how to get the product back to their supporters. The participant wants to have the names and what they ordered. So that's something that they keep. And honestly, too, I deal with a lot of schools, and they want to be very careful that we're protecting the young people's private information. So I never know who the participants are. I'm not getting names and phone numbers and addresses, all of their supporters and buyers. All I'm getting then is this one master order form that I'm then going to turn around and email to the company. And we want you to use this order form, one, because it gets priority tracking for shipping. They're going to make sure they're getting all those fundraiser orders out first. Okay. But it also gives the company a way to track how much we're selling so that each year we're calculating that for the stats, the data. At Fling, they provide for us, how many candles were sold, how much money was raised during each fundraising season. And the only way they know that is if you provide this form to them so they can kind of track it. And also, you don't order in your back office, okay? You're not going in and placing a regular order like you normally do. This is what you're sending. But don't worry about the, buy 11, get one jar half off. The company will calculate that in there for you automatically so that you'll get that special. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the training site here. Okay, so we have two different kinds of fundraisers where we call it the catalog, even though that's what this is what it is. This order form, this brochure is called the catalog versus a custom label. And so you can click into the catalog and then all the information. Here's a recorded training that was done in August of 22. And then there's lots of information here with different links on the website. So there's a picture of a spring order form that was used in the past. So again, these are going to give you the examples of what things look like, but always go back to the Bill of Builders to pull off the current season's promotional materials. Okay. So I'm not going to go through here and read this whole website, but it really does give you step-by-step instructions on what you do. But basically what you're doing is when you're prospecting for groups. Now, last week or the week before, I guess it was, Allison did a great job on showing you how to go onto Google and search for groups in your area and getting an email address where you can send an introductory email along with the fundraising guide that is on our company websites. That's a PDF. So you should have that saved to your computer. You can either use the link in your email that will click to your company website to see that form, or you can attach it as a PDF, which is what I tend to do. Partly too, you don't want a lot of groups spending a lot of time looking around your whole company website. We want them to focus on these are just the 15 cents of the 16-ounce candles that we're going to be working with. Those are the only products and scents that the company will guarantee as being available to not run out. They're going to always be watching that inventory level. If you send somebody to your company website, they start searching around and seeing, oh, well, what about the scent sways? Can we use those? Well, no, we can't, because those are hand poured. It's very time consuming. The company doesn't have the ability to guarantee the availability for hopefully a fundraiser that's selling quite a bit of stuff. Okay, so I like to use the fundraising guide as a PDF attachment to the emails that I'm sending out to prospective people. And we've got examples in here. There's links that will click you over into what it looks like. But basically, you're just introducing yourself as somebody in the area that is a fundraising specialist, and you're looking to help their group. And the more personalized you can do it. So I'll have a standard email that I'll have open, and then I'm copying that and putting it into my Gmail and sending it out. But I'm personalizing it, with the name of the group on there too, so that it doesn't look like it's a mass blind copy to everybody in the world. Make it personal. It does take a second longer, but once you have it in your email system, then I'll just go forward and then take off the previous person's email address, put in the new email address, and then, the group. I've changed the name of the volleyball club so that they get, personal contact. Now, Allison does this very successfully, and it does require a sense and a knowledge that if you send 4 emails, you're not going to get 4 responses of people that say, yeah, let's do this and let's do it today. So you got to be realistic about it. Any kind of marketing requires repeat exposure. So she has a very good system of reaching out to the various groups, at least, 4 times a year, each quarter, she's trying to reach out. And at the minimum, you want to be reaching out each season. So we have 2 fundraising seasons, spring and summer and fall and winter. So you want to be reaching out to those same groups. So you want to be tracking who you are contacting. You're making, however you do it. Allison does a lot of writing in a notebook. She likes to have it that way. I have it in an Excel spreadsheet where I have, the name of the group, the coordinator's name, the email, phone number, and then I kind of track what I do with each group, sent the introductory email and the fundraising guide, and then, got a response and put the date on there. And then, had a conversation. Now I know how much we're going to sell the candles for. I know how many participants, when do they expect to get this completed in the master order form back? So you want to be tracking all that information, especially if you've got several of them going on at the same time. you don't want to have anybody kind of be slipping through the cracks. But now once you have that list of fundraising groups who you have contacted in the past, it's real simple then for the next season to just kind of grab that email and send another introductory email again with the new fundraising guide for that season out to the group. And Allison has had people that have responded to her after, 4 or 5 of those introductory emails. So you got to keep making yourself known to the group so that when they decide that they are going to do a fundraiser, your information's popping up in front of them and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that candle thing. I'm going to get some more information about that. So it does require some tracking, some writing, journaling, however you best want to do that. The hardest part, I think, of the fundraising is determining the sell price. Okay, now we don't have territories in Sensations. So you can sell anywhere in the country. You can do a fundraiser anywhere in the country, even if it is in somebody else's, city, town, or whatever. If they've contacted you, you've marketed to them, you've gotten the lead, you are okay to do a fundraiser anywhere in the country. Okay, but that's going to entail then you're going to have to figure out what the sell price is. When I call and talk to somebody, one, I always want to be sure I'm getting their zip code. I want to know what city that they're in because I need to determine the amount of their sales tax and the shipping cost. Okay, you can give kind of a general idea that say on the East Coast, and now that the candles are $12.95 wholesale versus $12.50, you got to really be careful that $25 sell price, which was very common before, could put you at really not making much money. So you really do want to work the numbers. But generally, in the Northeast, you can sell the candles for $25 because the shipping isn't going to be as much. But you really got to pay attention to the sales tax. So, one area may have, like, somebody really surprised me. I think it was Kansas. And I really didn't expect Topeka, Kansas to have a very high sales tax. And it was like almost 10%. I was like, oh, wow. Versus another area that maybe their sales tax is only 5.5%. Okay, so I'll go online, do a search for that city, figure out what the sales tax is for that city and state, and then I'll go in the back office and do a mock order of how much the candles will cost to ship to that address. Now, I want to be very careful that you don't place that order. But what you do is you just I start with 12. And then I always pick a scent that I really like, just in case for some reason it gets placed. I know I'm going to get 12 of my favorite candles, but you don't have to go and pick 12 different ones. I'll just take whatever, blueberry 12, and then go far enough that it's giving you the ability to put in that person's address and that zip code so that it tells you how much the shipping is going to be for those 12 jars. Okay, and I'll write that down. And then I'll go back and edit the order. And then I'll want to do like 24, 48, 72. I want to know where those changes in the shipping amounts so that I can get an idea. And usually it's, 12 to 24 is going to be a change, but oftentimes 24, 48, 72 is the same amount as shipping. But I just kind of want to get an idea of how much per candle I want to be telling them up front. And it's an estimate, because you don't really know in advance how many candles they're going to sell. But you can kind of get an idea. If you've got a group of 50, well, you hope they at least each sell one candle. So you're thinking, okay, they're going to sell at least 50 candles. So you just get an idea of the overall shipping cost to that area, and then you divide it by the number of candles. So if you were putting the order as a 12 jar item, whatever the shipping is divided by 12, that's your per jar shipping. Okay, and then you're just going to kind of add things up. You know that your jar is going to cost you $12.95 for the wholesale pricing. Okay, you're going to add that per jar shipping amount, and then you need to add the sales tax. But you have to remember that you're not calculating sales tax on the wholesale amount that you're buying. Okay, they're going to be selling it at retail, the $21.95. So anytime that you're figuring out tax, you're doing it on $21.95. Okay, and then you know that they're going to be making $8 per jar that they sell. Now that's very standard, and they'll see that if they're looking around online, that's kind of what it is. Again, it's your business and you have an option to pick how much you really do want the group to earn. And it can vary a bit. Um, if you're going to be giving gifts, and this is something that I've been really surprised, and I deal with a lot of schools, and no one has ever asked to do gifts for the top sellers, or gift cards, or no one has ever insisted that, hey, in order for us to do this, you got to make sure that you provide three $25 gift cards, or whatever gifts. It does help the participants maybe be a little bit more motivated to want to sell, but it's not a requirement that you do that. But if you do, then you might want to think about adjusting maybe the profit that they make, or increasing the sell price a little bit to kind of compensate for some of that expense that you're incurring. Okay. But that's how you kind of figure out what you're going to sell the candle for. Again, it's the wholesale amount, adding on the per jar shipping, adding on the sales tax. Now, remember, it's not to you. You're not shipping it to you if they're out of state. You're using their sales tax. Okay, if it's coming to you because it's somebody, in your community and you're going to be delivering the candles, that's fine. Then you're using your sales tax. But if it is somebody from a different city with a different city's sales tax, or if it's out of state, it's the sales tax is calculated on where the product is shipping to. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. And then you're giving them their $8 profit. And then you're always rounding off. So when you add those all up, you're typically going to come to, 25, 46. Okay, well, that's not what you want to have the group be selling it for. Either round up or round down. Try to, maybe round up so that you can account for some of the costs that you have in the order form expenses, or if you are providing some additional, materials and things for them. So it's always a flat, $26, $27 that the group is selling it for. Now, you don't have to break all of these numbers down for the group. It's really best that you don't do that, because it does become confusing. It's confusing for distributors, period. But then you try to share that information with a coordinator. All they need to know is that the sell price is $26, and of that, they're going to get an $8 profit. Okay, and the rest of it then is for cost. And that's all you have to do is explain the cost. This is what I'm going to order the candles with. Okay, and it's really beneficial and powerful to tell the coordinators up front that there is no cost to them by doing these classic catalog. Now, with a custom label fundraiser, that's different. Okay, but most people, once you explain the situation, they want to do the catalog because they don't want to have to buy candles up front. Okay, they just get the order forms from us, which they did not pay for. Okay, they start taking the orders. They calculate all that together, come up with a total amount that they sold, and they're going to figure out how many candles they sold, and then subtract that $8 is their profit. So they get that up front, which again is really a powerful marketing benefit. They're not having to give us the whole check and then us to turn around later then to give them back their profit. So they have no expenses up front, and they get to keep their profit up front. Okay. Now, one thing I do suggest is if you are, okay, two things, I guess. Don't think that you have to immediately go after the big schools, okay, and do a fundraiser for a whole second grade. Those are difficult to get because they do tend to be kind of entrenched in what they've done in the past. But if you can do small groups, a 10-person basketball team. You can work with small groups, and doing several of those small groups really add up to be significant profit for you over time, as well as, contributing to your personal volume, which contributes to your points for the top achievers trips. Okay, so don't think that you got to go out and conquer the whole school district in your neighborhood. Start with small, build yourself up, get your experience, get your reputation out there, and then you can go with bigger groups. But I just want to give you a heads up that I've learned. If you are working with a school, they are gonna have to need more time. Okay, so it can be done in 2 weeks. We say sell for 2 weeks over at least 2 weekends so that the parents have time to think and figure out what they're going to do and whether they're taking the kids around to do the sell. So the selling itself only takes about 2 weeks. Okay. And then it doesn't take but a week, really, at the most, for the product to ship from Pennsylvania to the location. Obviously, if it's on the East Coast, they're going to get it within a couple of days. On the West Coast, it may take 5-7 days. Okay, so both of those don't really take all that long, but that's what you have to calculate into your time frame when you're telling them, when are they going to be able to deliver this product to their supporters? Okay, the biggest obstacle that I find is that they're ready. They send me the master order form, and I'm thinking, great, let's go. I want to get the order in. Well, they are always writing checks. Okay, they're not going to pay you through Venmo, and you may experience this with some sports teams that have like booster clubs and more organized leadership or something. They tend to have to write checks, and the checks usually have to be approved. It has to go to accounting. So it's not just the coordinator going, yep, here's a check, I'm going to write that to you. It has to go to the accounting department. There are some departments that only write checks on certain days of the week, or even certain, 1 time, 2 times a month. So you really want to be careful. So in advance, you want to prep your coordinator to provide you any information about how the school operates with their vendors. You would be considered a vendor. I usually have to fill out a form that gets sent back to the accounting department, basically, claiming who I am, where they have me on record then as an approved vendor that they're going to pay. Okay, so all of that takes some time. So prepare for that. Give yourself plenty of time, especially with, the closer you get to the holiday. Also, the schools tend to get out before Christmas a couple of, a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks before that. So be very careful that you're not going, well, it only takes us 2 weeks to run this. And then it takes, a couple days to get the order. And then you're pushed right up to their vacation where they're leaving. Okay. Also, I guess you do want, it's rare, but sometimes there may be breakage. So you have to give yourself enough time to be able to replace that one jar that broke. So you got to contact the company, tell them what happened, and then they'll resend it. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're giving enough time for that as well, and that the school didn't close down and now all of a sudden no one's there to receive the replacement. Okay. Again, really, I suggest that you read all of the details on the website. It's very specific. If you have questions, you can post them in our Light Your Dream Team Facebook group. But really, really encourage you to go to the site to read the information. And again, it's really easy, but if it's the first time you've ever done it, wow, it might be a little bit scary. So it's okay to ask questions or have your sponsor even just basically, walk through the whole thing with you, answer questions that you get from the groups. And most of the groups who have done fundraising in the past, they kind of already know. They know how to do fundraisers. They've used a different product at some other time. So they know what they're doing. They don't tend to need a lot of help in doing that, but they may have a couple of questions. Are you going to ship it to each individual order? No, you're going to ship it to the coordinator or to yourself, and then you can sort it by each supporter, or you can just give them the whole thing. You and the coordinator can work out what's best for the group and your needs. Okay. Again, it's your business and you can do it how you want. There's guidelines that we give you here, but you're always free to kind of do, what you need to do between you and the coordinator. You can see the chart here. We have this in various marketing graphics, but it's really powerful if you show them what the potential is. And I just had this happen the other day and it was 2 women that were kind of on speaker talking to each other. And when I was telling them that you get $8 per jar, and they're kind of like, $8 per jar. And then one of the women kind of figured out herself. She's like, oh, if we have 100 kids and each of them just sold 10 jars, we'd make $8,000. So that seems like a whole lot bigger number than just $8. So use your communication with the coordinator to figure out one, what kind of group it is, what is it that they're trying to raise funds for, so that they have a specific goal. You're going to have more success with somebody that knows that they're trying to earn funds to go to, some parade, some holiday parade, or a competition in Florida, a Disney World or something. If they know what they're working for, they're much more likely to try to do that. And then trying to have a goal set that, yeah, if I've got, 10 participants, what is our goal for each one of them? If each one of them sells $10, that's going to be an $800 profit to the group. So figure out what they're doing it for, how many participants, and then give them a goal. If each one of those participants can sell 10 candles, 20 candles, this is what you're going to get. Now, you have to be realistic that not everybody is going to participate. And even if, you send 25 order forms, you maybe have 17 that actually participate in the selling. That's normal. There will be some families that just won't do it. So that's all okay. Okay, so we've gone through a lot of information. I've tried to do it fast because there's a lot. But Allison, you want to jump in and give anything else that I haven't done? We don't have but 5 more minutes or so, but we certainly can carry this on with any questions that you have in the group. But you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just jotting down some things as you were talking. Yeah, very good stuff. I'm selling the candles in Illinois at 25 still, but that's been last four years. But I think next year I'm going to up the price, because everything is costing more. So, but since I've already established $25, that's what I'm doing the rest of the year. Um, Actually, I'm folding some forms right now so I could get them out for a school. Um, the this training, and there's two other ones on our Facebook team group in the quick reference guide at the top. So there's plenty of information on all of this. Now, Kathy does out of state fundraisers mostly, right, Kathy?
Yep.
Okay. I do more local, but I do out of state. Like I just sent out a box of forms to a dance studio in Michigan. Okay. I do some out of state, but I do mostly local. So I make sure I have, they call it the pink sheet. The individual seller form goes inside the fundraising brochure to each seller. So the sellers keep their fundraising forms and they give the coordinator back the pink sheets. And so the coordinator goes off those pink sheets, does the tallies, and I get the pink sheets. And that way I've got a hold of them. If there's any problem, I could say, nope, she ordered this. She did not order this. I always have that in front of me. And then when the order comes to me, I have the order shipped to me because they're local. I'll go ahead and sort by seller. Okay. So it's a little different than out of state, but it's pretty much the same. And as far as breakage and things, I have I had one time out of all the fundraisers, have one candle broke. Now, I think Bob's wife, Kathy, does most of the fundraising, is my understanding, at the home office, and she's super good. Every order that's come to me has been perfect, perfect count on each individual cent. I mean, it's amazing. There's no mistakes coming in to my house ever. Um, Also, if you're going to be contacting groups, be sure you have at least a packet of fundraising forms handy. Because one time I had somebody say, yeah, they want to do it, but they want to start next week. Well, if you don't have the forms, you got to order them. It might take, 5 days to get there. And, you want to have the forms. If you're promoting fundraising, have one pack of forms at least in your house, okay? Um, and like Kathy says, she keeps track on spreadsheets. And so I have my email list. When somebody says yes, it's a go, I take them off my email list and they go into folders. And in each folder, I have my notes. In each folder, who I talk to, what I sent out, what they did last year, anything like that. So that's kind of how I keep track of it. But you figure out what works best for you because it's taken me a long time to figure out what was easiest for me to do too. Um, and also I have one school, the junior class for prom does a fundraiser every year. And I did have to get on file at that school, like she was talking about, for a vendor. So if you're starting out, like she said, don't hit the big schools at first. Go for the smaller, the PTOs. You could, work with them, but not like for a whole school fundraiser. That can get pretty scary because you've got different classes and everything like that. So, like the high school, I'm doing the prom. It's only the junior class, so it's right there. But I would start out with dance studios. I mean, most of them do fundraising. They know how to do it, and the parents are involved. It's usually goes very smooth. I found dance, cheer, some sports teams, uh, animal shelters, rescues, all those places. But I wouldn't try to contact a whole school, but maybe like a department in the school, like band, the band or the cheer or something like that. So that's about all I was going to add in there, Kathy.
Great. Well, I put on the screen there, hopefully it shows up in the recording, but the top pinned post in our Facebook group where Allison has listed out all of our important quick references. So you can see links there. But then, yeah, also we have our team YouTube training channel, and so you can certainly hop over there to see those trainings as well as all of the trainings that we do. This one here will be uploaded to the YouTube as well so that you can reference this again later. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and call it a night here, but it is fundraising season. It is picked up in the last couple weeks here where people are reaching out to me and getting information and, trying to decide, are they ready to go and do this? So the faster you can do it, get them on the books and get them involved, the less stress it will be for not running up against the holidays and trying to do them all at the same time, which is usually what happens to me with these schools, and then I'm trying to earn the trip and wondering, am I going to make the points dependent upon, how much they each individual group sells. So now's the time. Get your training done, get your questions done, get your order forms in your house so that you're prepared and are able to mail them out when somebody does say yes. And then don't hesitate to either ask on the group or reach out to Allison and I about any questions or support that you need, because it's fun, it's rewarding, it's exciting to
Mhm.
see these groups earning money for their efforts. And while we do make some money, that's a good thing. But also, the bigger thing that I like to do fundraisers at the end of the year is to get the points for the trip. That's that volume that we need to get. And the way that you sell 150 candles is you have a group helping you do so. So
Mhm.
great. Be sure to ask any questions and let's get you going. I appreciate everybody that came on live, and thank you to anybody that then watches later on. But we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Y'all take care then, okay?
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.